All right, we're live.
What you want? What you want? Come on. What you want? What you want? Come on.
Hey, everybody, I'm Mike. This is Budget Guns and Gear Reviews, and you are listening to The Right of the People, the special heavy-duty makeup broadcast since I was back in the land of the half alive on Friday and had to cancel. I asked if my panel would be willing to make it, and some of them did, so awesome, and I'm glad to see them here and you as well. Tonight, we got a couple things to talk about. We're going to talk about the Government Accounting Office commissioned a study and where some federal agents tried to buy guns on the illegal online internet sale loophole thingy that, keeps popping up everywhere and is proven to be false. We're also going to talk about how the incoming Virginia governor wants to make banning of private gun sales a priority for 2018. Also, the Second Amendment Foundation's back at it, fighting for your rights in the courts. They're filing for cert for a case before SCOTUS. And then we want to go ahead and talk about some self-defense shoutouts. Want to say hello to everybody in the room. Let me go through it. Clover, how you doing, buddy? Glad to see you can make it.
I'm well. It's good to see you're better.
Oh, yeah. I was telling roll call when I before the show that I made it home from work at 7:30 on Friday. I got up long enough to cancel the show and call off work, and then I slept till 11:30 Saturday morning. I was hit pretty bad. Looks like you're doing better from your brush with the plague too.
Yeah, get a little better every day.
That's good. Roll call, how you doing? You keeping warm out there?
I'm stepping in for roll call, but he's doing great. He's dropping his kids off right now. He'll be back on in like 2 minutes.
Okay.
I'm his wife, or soon-to-be wife.
Outstanding. Well, it's good to hear from you.
Thanks.
Jamil, I know you're toasty out there in the wonderful land of the retiree.
Well, I'm not retired. I just, I think I'm going to die with my camera in my hand. That's the way it is.
Hey, that's not bad at all.
It's just, but it's great. It's been in the 70s. It was just unseasonably warm for this time of year, but it beats the way it was about 4 or 5 years ago when SHOT Show week, we had 28 degrees lows for like a whole week. It killed every single plant in my front yard and in my backyard, which sucks.
Wow.
But because the plants, people hear plant stuff and they just never think, oh, it's going to get cold. Well, duh. Yeah, it does get cold in the desert. But that was the year that we went to the media day at SHOT Show, and it was like 20, 30 degrees with 50-mile-an-hour winds, and everybody was sitting there shivering outside. I said, screw this. I went into the dining room and had like 3 bowls of hot chili. And it was great. It was fantastic.
All right. Out here on the YouTube side, we got Wheelchair Warrior, Midnight Range, Grim 90, Jared Leffler. How you guys doing out there? On gun channels, we got Rafael Morales, The Pants, and Rob Cromwell. How you guys doing? Midnight Range says, screw that gravelly voiced Velcro-faced yanker. I'll stay here with you guys. Hey, thank you very much. Just be glad I don't have a webcam. Then you might be scared off from here. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get this rolling. Top story tonight. Federal agents try to show ease of illegal online gun purchases. Fail in all 72 attempts. I think that is wonderful. This is a piece by AWR Harkins from Breitbart. It says a Government Accountability Office report shows federal agents tried to show ease of illegally purchasing guns online, only to fail in 72 out of 72 attempts. Apparently, these attempts were undertaken over 2.5 years. Undercover agents trying to buy guns through readily accessible internet sites failed exactly 100% of the time to complete a sale when the seller had reason to believe the buyer was prohibited or lived in another state. The GAO report was entitled Internet Firearm Sales, ATF Enforcement Efforts, and Outcomes of GAO Covert Testing. It was commissioned by 3 rabid gun controllers: Elijah Cummings, Democrat, Maryland; Senators Brian Schatz, Democrat, Hawaii; and Elizabeth Warren, Democrat, Massachusetts. Do I see a theme here? Cummings, Schatz, and Warren were apparently all lured in by Michael Bloomberg's funded 2011 study, which claims 62% of private sellers would go through with an online sale even after finding out the would-be buyer had a criminal history. I wonder where they got the information for that study, because I could have saved the government a hell of a lot of money and told them that no, that just isn't accurate. Anyway, Bloomberg
They pulled it out of their rear end so that they could do another study, basically.
Yeah, I think they were carrying that one around in their jail pocket for a while. Bloomberg's study gave ammunition to the gun control zealots, who then urged the GAO study, only to find that the so-called lucrative market of unregulated online sales is not there. What? Really? Again, federal agents made 72 attempts to buy guns online during a 2.5-year time frame and failed every time. Gun controllers in the House or Senate and frequently speak of a loophole that allows criminals to buy guns online. Their surrogates in Hollywood and the media often make the same claims following high-profile firearm-based attack. For example, after the Las Vegas attack, Jimmy Kimmel claimed, quote, "Right now, there are loopholes in the law that let people avoid background checks if they buy a gun privately from another party if they buy a gun online or at a gun show," unquote. Sorry, Jimmy, there's no loophole. Private sales, which have been legal since 1791, but other than private sales like that, you have to go through a background check each and every time you buy a firearm online or through at a gun show, through a dealer or anything like that. You know, I think it's great that 72 attempts, 72 fails. Now, granted, something that this article doesn't mention is that some of those attempts were via the dark web, where the agents, it's, apparently this semi-mythical, shady back alley of the internet where you can go and buy illegal crap, but I have no idea how to get there and don't want to. But anyway, apparently they got their information stolen there and on some of their background attempts, and some of their websites were hacked and seized and whatnot by some of the scammers there. So that's why some of their seriously illegal attempts didn't work. But the honest, law-abiding citizens, every single time said, "No, buddy, I'm not selling to you." I think that's great.
I'm with you 100%. I mean, here in Arizona is, the land of the gun shows. We have a gun show pretty much every month, and people out here are pretty astute. When they see something shady going on with a person trying to buy something privately, they just nix the sale and walk away.
Yeah.
Hell,
You have to, because if you don't, A, you're committing a crime, and I don't think anyone really wants to go to federal prison. B, just to be a responsible gun owner, to be a good ambassador for the Second Amendment, you have to make sure you're following the law so that you don't give the antis ammunition for crap like this.
exactly, and that's what I mean. We just keep it on the up and up, and there's no problems.
Yeah.
I mean,
Go ahead, Clover.
Well, I was just going to say that being a Facebook group admin for many years, and now owning a similar private platform here for the state of Texas. I've got a little bit of insight and experience in this, and more recently, because of the the anti-gun policies as it refers to sales and stuff like that on Facebook. That's how come, the private platform that I built is now in play. And we go through a lot of IP addresses. We do a lot of different things to ensure that it's only Texas residents inside that site. But then beyond that, the different admins for the group in that site carry on the tradition that had went on Facebook for years and years. The groups on there, and I know probably, oh good Lord, hundreds of other gun group admins from way back when on Facebook, and we networked with each other. We made sure that felons and ne'er-do-wells and whatnot, we profiled the heck out of people. I mean, if you were trying to get into one of those groups and you had neck tattoos or something like that, you pretty much didn't make it in. And that may be, that may be discrimination or profiling or whatever, but that was for the safety of our group. That was for the safety of the members in the group, and everything else. So yeah, this report is not surprising to me at all. The guys out there that facilitate the online marketplaces and meeting places and whatnot, pretty classy, upstanding, law-abiding guys, and they care about protecting the people that patron those different sites.
Yeah, and I think that you and the other admins had the right idea. Given the political climate today, we as gun owners and Second Amendment advocates, we really have to police ourselves before we allow anyone else to do it. Because if we don't, it's just fodder for the political machine. And I'm glad to see that.
It only takes that one time.
Yep.
It only takes one sale to somebody that can't purchase. And then something bad happened, which nothing, there's never been a mass shooting or something like that where something was obtained that way. But, it only takes that one time, and that's the beginning of the end.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Rahm Emanuel said it, and they all agree with it. Never let a tragedy go to waste. And believe me, they'll do everything. They have a bill written and waiting for the opportunity to file. That's it. They already have the bill written.
Yeah, but there's a component to this too that has always concerned me and worried me, and it has nothing to do with shipping one. I mean, if you're talking about across state lines, if you talk about people that get into some type of an online forum and they enter into an agreement, regardless of whether it's suspicious or not. And, you're talking about shipping, and then that person doesn't want to ship to an FFL, because we all know that's legal. I can get in there with you and we could get online right now and broker a deal, and I could, send you a money order or whatever, and then you ship something to the FFL of my choice. That's all, on level and above board.
Yep. Have done it before.
But, one of the things that's the correct way to do things. But one of the things that's always concerned me on a more local basis, and why a lot of your admins on these sites and in these groups are so vigilant about things, is if you let this criminal element and these people that have criminal histories and backgrounds and whatever, okay, they enter into an agreement. You enter into agreement with this guy, and then you're going to go out and meet this fella somewhere.
Yeah.
So when you meet this fellow, is he going to hold you up at gunpoint and rob you? Is he going to steal your car? Or is he going to, there's an overarching issue to this that they didn't look at. They were simply looking at the ability to purchase that. And they didn't look at the safety aspect that sort of helps regulate, people selling to other people like that. If that guy's shady, he's talking all kinds of weird stuff and everything else, I'm not going out to some random parking lot or somewhere and meeting with that guy. And I'm certainly not inviting him over to my house to pick it up.
No.
So it's just not happening.
Yeah. Anytime I've ever sold a firearm, one, I've always regretted it. But two, anytime I ever have, I spent some time talking with the guy first for a while to get a feel for him. And then, you meet somewhere public and you have someone with you. And I always want to see a CHL, because at the very least, I know they passed that background check. but that's just me. I'm trying
Yeah,
to
I've
do
never.
my due diligence.
Well, that's a good
Well,
idea.
I've only sold or traded very, very few. Can definitely count on both hands. And here in Texas, we don't have any requirements to do anything, to ask for anything.
No, we don't either.
Of course, we're bound by not selling to a felon, obviously, but we don't require a bill of sale and things like that. Still, I will. I've always requested a bill of sale, and I've never had anybody shy away from the transaction because of that.
Yeah.
And in the event that they did, I just probably would not have gone through with that sale. But I want the bill of sale more for my records too than anything.
Sure. For me, wanting to see a concealed handgun license is just simply about making sure I'm not selling to a felon. Because unless you actually know the person, you really don't know. And I don't want. I don't want one of my guns used in a crime if I can avoid it. Now, I'm not saying that there should be mandatory background checks on private sales or whatever. That's up to you as to how you want to do your business. It's your business. But for me and for my peace of mind, I like to see a concealed handgun license unless I actually know the person.
Well, that's what I've done in the past. I usually, when I don't do that many private sales. I also regret selling guns. Like
I've
right away,
selling every single one I've ever sold.
Well, that's not my case. Sometimes you sit around a bunch of stuff that you really don't use or don't want or whatever, not using, and so you decide to sell something, right? I usually here in Arizona because it's legal, but I usually ask for a CCW or a driver's license or both. And what I usually do is I take a picture with a phone of both, and they do the same with mine. And everybody walks away happy.
That's a good idea.
That way, if there's any questions, they come over and ask you, well, how come you sold that gun? Well, I sold it to this person on this date, and here's a driver's license and CCW. So this person passed the CCW thing and whatever, and we're ready to go, and everybody's happy. So it's no questions. So,
I've only ever had one issue come up with, and it was a good thing I had the bill of sale. Turns out, but it ended up where they had recovered some stolen firearms, and but of course, came back to me. And then I was able, through the bill of sale to go, no, that belongs to this guy. And it was somebody, and the guy didn't even report it. And I don't know. I don't know if he didn't realize that it had gotten stolen, or maybe he loaned it to, a buddy and it got stolen from the buddy. I don't know the circumstances around it. But, yeah, I did get a call one day asking about it. And I'm like, I don't have that, but I can tell you who did have it. So
I bet they were happy to hear that.
Well, it gave them a lead to an otherwise dead end. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Midnight Range says that in Pennsylvania, you can still sell long guns privately, and handguns have to go through an FFL. Interesting. Here in Ohio, you still don't have to do anything like that. You can sell whatever to whoever, as long as you don't knowingly sell to a felon or sell a handgun across state lines.
So we're talking about private purchases, private sales.
Yeah, what started the conversation was the study that the Government Accountability Office just did, where over a 2.5-year period, federal agents tried to buy firearms online through the internet gun loophole illegally. Not with the sellers knowing that they were prohibited persons or whatnot, and 72 out of 72 attempts were failures. All the sellers said, nope, we're not doing it. Kind of busting that internet illegal gun myth.
Yeah.
Glad to see you can make it, by the way.
Yeah. I had to make dinner, but I've sold a couple guns private sale. In South Carolina, we're not required to do a bill of sale or anything. But after the whole thing that happened in Charleston, everybody does a bill of sale these days because they don't want to take the hit. They don't want to be the one responsible, for someone else screwing up. So I've only sold to one stranger, and the rest were people I knew. One of them, I sold a rifle to him, but he had just gotten out of the Navy, and he was the honorably discharged, not dishonorably. Yeah. So, if he was just got out of the Navy honorably, I'm just gonna say, okay, you're good to go, dude.
Yeah, that's a pretty good indication that they're not a felon.
Yeah. So, I mean, if he was dishonorably discharged, I'm like, yeah, I can't sell it to you. But, yeah. But obviously the military thought enough of him to let him, of all people, manage a nuclear reactor. So I'm pretty sure he's good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably a good indicator.
Yeah. So the rest of the guns that I've sold through the FFL dealer I go through, and sometimes I've sold guns or traded for whatever he has in inventory.
Yeah,
because he'll do that. So that's about it. I mean, I've only done that one private sale I did to one guy. He had a concealed weapons license. And he had and he was a resident of South Carolina. So I just wrote down his information, gave him a bill of sale, and that was it.
Yeah, bill of sale is always good. And I sell to a buddy of mine when I get something that I get with the purpose of reselling. But then again, I'm an FFL, so I have an FFL for my business, not as a store, but as a, for my photography and now YouTube business. But I usually, even to those people that I buy and sell for that are just privately owned, I do a bill of sale. That's just covers my ass. The rest of the people, of course, I do a 4473. That's and here in Arizona, if you have a CCW, you don't need to make the next call. So that's a whole lot easier too. So
believe it or not, that's the same here in South Carolina.
Oh, okay, cool.
Philo out there on YouTube says that where he is, they need to do all transfers, even a loan to a friend through an FFL. Where's that at, Philo?
Probably California.
Yeah, he did probably. Man, it's things like that just drive me nuts. That's the kind of garbage they want to give to everybody. Midnight Rain says it's in hell. Yep, you were right. Philo's in California.
I thought it was California.
Well, I lived in California when he wasn't a shithole. Okay, so back in the day,
that was like the 60s and 70s, right?
So you're gonna watch it. CNN's gonna be all over us on that.
Well, no, it was in the early 80s. I lived in Santa Barbara between 82 to 85. And the Central Coast has always been less communist than the rest of the state, shall we say. So I think from San Luis Obispo to, Camarillo is like normal people live there. So it's okay.
Wow.
But isn't Sacramento in the middle of the state?
Well, that's north. That's way north of the Central Coast of Santa Maria, Santa Barbara, San Luis Obispo, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I've got family that lives all over California, unfortunately, but I won't ever visit them because of how awful those laws are.
Oh yeah, I as soon as I drive to California, and as soon as I pass the state line, I feel like I'm oppressed, because the first thing I have to do is I can't take my guns there.
But luckily, that's what Skype and email were invented for, as well as regular snail mail. So
yeah, there you go. Yeah, I have a couple of cousins and a lot of good friends in California. A lot of them are actually in the shooting sports, so I feel for them because I know that they can't own shit out there. They has to be in the roster and all that other bull crap. Especially the ammo thing now. So Yeah, it's pretty bad, across enemy lines, or as I say, behind the Iron Curtain.
I mean, I'm surprised, people haven't revolted yet because of that. But apparently you have to be really, really oppressed. Like, they have to declare a law that, hey, they have to take away all your firearms before anybody actually gets up and do anything. And by the time that happens, it's too late.
Yep. No, it's Californians have been silent and doing not much about their freedoms for many, many years. And they're apathetic. They just let shit happen, and it's not going to be for me or whatever, And
I don't think they've ever seen freedom up close.
Well, they used to be back in the days when
They
Reagan.
They might have read about it in a book.
Yeah.
It's a shame, that's for sure.
But I have to ask, is that book on the California roster?
Yeah, I know.
Well, approved literature.
Well, you guys from Texas. I remember in 1985 when I graduated, my first job was in Irving, Texas. So I crossed into freedom, and I remember going to a gun store, and I wanted to buy my model 629 6-inch. Go to the store, pick the gun, fill up the 4473, pay for it, and I asked the question that everybody in the store went silent when I said, "So when can I pick this up?" And everybody just looked at me and says, "What are y'all talking about, son?" I'm like, "Well, what's the waiting period?" He goes, "Son, you're now in Texas. You're free to take it home now." And I was like, "Woohoo!" I couldn't believe it. I was just
that's when people look at you funny and say, "Son, you're in America."
I know, pretty much. That's what I was told. Where are you coming from? I just moved from California. And everybody starts.
Oh, makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense.
Unfortunately, not all of America falls under the same set of rules. We were talking about private gun sales, and looks like the incoming Virginia governor wants to ban private gun sales. He wants to make that a priority for 2018. Another piece by AWR Hawkins, Breitbart, says incoming governor Ralph Northam, Democrat, indicates that banning private gun sales in the state will be a priority for 2018. In other words, he will continue to pursue the gun controls that outgoing Governor Terry McAuliffe, another Democrat, pursued but failed to secure. NBC Washington reports that Northam will be pushing universal background checks for gun buyers. This means private gun sales will be treated like retail sales, with point-of-sale background checks required at the time of purchase. Such a framework will require a law-abiding gun owner to seek out a government representative, a federal firearms license holder, and have a background check performed before he sells a gun to his neighbor, coworker, lifelong friend, or acquaintance. Other states have outlawed private gun sales and charge a fee for the required background checks. That fee effectively serves as a new tax on the gun sale or transfer, thereby driving the price of firearms up. Northam referred to the legislative package banning private gun sales as nonpartisan and common sense, quotes around both of those. But he did not explain why punishing law-abiding private gun sellers and average Americans is sensible in any way. After all, private gun sales have been the law of the land since the Second Amendment was ratified in 1791. Why would banning such sales suddenly be evidence of common sense? The ugly truth that Democrats and their gun control surrogates in the media ignore is that background checks have proven to be the favorite way for mass public attackers to acquire their guns. From the Texas church shooting, November 5th, 2017, to Las Vegas, October 1st, 2017, to Orlando Pulse, June 12th, 2016, to the attack on the Aurora movie theater, July 20th, 2012, and Virginia Tech in 2007, mass public attackers are acquiring their guns via background checks, not private sales. Moreover, even the government has demonstrated that large swaths of the left's private gun sale loophole are actually non-existent, and it then goes to reference the previous discussion we had on the government accounting office internet loophole failure.
It's just, I have to say this, and I always say this, but all these Democrats that are always going on and on about trying to restrict guns, they don't recognize that most of these mass attackers, like in the last 15 years, most of them have been people from their own party.
Absolutely right.
So
One-
if they really want to remove guns from the equation from the people that would do harm, then why not just make it so Democrats can't own firearms? Problem solved.
Correlation does not necessarily equal causation. However, by their logic, you've hit the solution.
Right? I know. I'm using their logic, and I apologize for even thinking that. But it's just the ridiculousness of what they're trying to turn our country into. Taking the freedom out of America does not make America free.
Sure it does.
No, it doesn't. It makes us. It makes us. It
makes people free from having personal responsibility. And people can't handle that.
Yeah, and next you'll be calling our leader, who is not elected. You'll be calling him His Royal Highness.
I thought we just got through 8 years of that.
Well,
well, he didn't want to be called Your Royal Highness. He wanted to be called the Messiah. So
yes, that's right. How could I have forgotten? Maybe it's because I've been trying.
I think we all have.
But no, in seriousness, I mean, you're right. It's this. Someone out there in the chat mentioned that I think it's Gizzard says that. No, actually, it's Midnight says that the private sale gun thing is the easiest target for anti-gunners, and yeah, they're trying to go for the low-hanging fruit. If you look at the history of gun control in this country, since the Civil War, anyway, it has been just a long, slow decline, little bit by little bit by little bit. Particularly since the '60s, actually. They take a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit here, a little bit there. Before you know it, they're 10 miles down the road.
Yeah, don't talk to me about the Civil War, because we don't have open carry or constitutional carry in South Carolina, and the Civil War is probably the reason why.
Yeah,
because the people in Charleston jumped the gun and seceded from the Union.
Well, my thoughts on really the origins of the modern gun control movement stem from post-Civil War South, where the Democrats that were still in charge there were doing everything they could to ban African Americans, the freed slaves, from having firearms, and that's where gun control laws started. They were trying their best to make sure that the freed slaves couldn't have the means to resist the further tyranny and oppression that they were trying to put on them. It's things like the public gathering laws that were selectively enforced in Georgia up until recently. All of that stems from the attempts by Democrat Party to control a segment of the population. It just so happens that the segment of the population has switched from simply being freed slaves to, well, all of us that they want to turn into new slaves.
They want you to be dependent on the system so they can take care of you, and they know what's best for you. And because they know what's best for you, you can't have this or that because they say so.
Absolutely right. A very good illustration of that point. I was just listening to Armed American Radio the other day, which I do frequently. And Mark was talking about the new, a while back, Seattle had enacted a tax on guns and ammunition inside the city's borders. And all that it really did was drive purchases. Ostensibly, the reason for the tax was so that they could fund gun violence studies and violence prevention studies and whatnot. And they were supposed to collect all this money. And in reality, what it did, and which I think was the actual goal of it, but they'll never admit it.
Didn't all the stores move outside of Seattle?
That's exactly what happened. It drove all the stores outside of Seattle so that you couldn't buy guns and ammunition inside Seattle.
And everybody went outside of Seattle to buy all their stuff, and the crime
absolutely right
went up.
What they just did now is they just enacted a tax on sugary drinks inside the city of Seattle. Same thing. And this time, at least, they're being honest. because they said that what they want people to do is move to not buying sugary drinks or sports drinks or anything like that. So, at least they're being honest this time with their attempts to influence behavior via public policy. And that's circling back, that's what these, quote, universal background checks, unquote, are really aimed at. It's trying to influence your behavior via public policy.
Yeah.
And it's behavior that they don't want you to have, because let me tell you something, people, you are an absolute damn fool if you believe that somebody who does not want you capable of defending yourself is your friend.
No.
Period. I don't care what letter they have behind their name, whether it's a D, R, I, L, I don't care what it is. They are your enemy, flat out, point blank, if they don't want you capable of defending yourself, period. Because there's only one reason you want somebody helpless and dependent on you. So that you can tell them what to do.
Yep, that's the way it is.
I mean, I know that shouldn't exactly be a light bulb moment there. That should be common sense, but there are apparently at least close to 50% of this country that don't seem to grasp that concept.
Right.
Here's what you're talking about. You see this? You see this guy?
Yeah.
You're the person. You're that person. The Democrat is the one stepping on you.
Yep.
Okay. They are the boot or the shoe or whatever is on the foot trying to oppress you. Right there.
Yeah, that's the way it is. Hey, look, I know all about gun control. I lived the first 21 years of my life in one of the most oppressive, draconian gun control countries in the world, which is Puerto Rico. And talk about gun control. It's full registration. You cannot even go to the shooting range unless you have a permit to go to the shooting range. Okay? And my dad had to go in front of a judge to get a CCW, and it was an affidavit. His CCW license was 4 pages in legal paper that he had to carry with him at all times.
Wow.
And talk about oppressive, ridiculous laws. They have been improving because the shooters, the competitive shooters, and specifically the competitive shooters start putting a lot of pressure on the government. But still, in order to get a CCW in Puerto Rico, costs you about $1,000, and you had to wait like 6 months to get it, even though the law says that it has to be less than 90 days.
They do know that they're a territory of the United States, and even a territory has to uphold the Constitution. They do know that, don't they?
Well, they don't give a shit about it, because most of these people out there, the people in government, they're only there to pat their pockets. All of them. Doesn't matter what, like you said, doesn't matter what letter they have after their name. Out there, there's not Democrat, Republican only. There's also the independence movement, who basically want to be out of the union, but they want all the benefits of being from the union. So
if they want to be out of the union, here's a rowboat. You can row.
Yeah, I know. Well, you can just go.
Go. You don't want to be here. Go.
Go.
No one's keeping you here.
No, nobody's. Actually, it's kind of funny. After the Hurricane Maria, a lot of very interesting things happen, and it's starting to change people's minds, because a lot of people out there who were, in the independence movement, they disappeared. When shit hit the fan, they disappeared. Nobody knows where the hell they went. And of course, you know the stories and the crap you saw on TV and all that.
Hopefully, they were out denying the hurricane when the hurricane hit.
Yeah, well, that would have been great. They got swept away and just go away. But yeah, gun control out there is really horrible, and of course, it's one of the highest murder per capita in the whole union, right up there with Chicago. So, and that's another.
But that doesn't make sense. It should be utopia.
Oh yeah, Again, my favorite word, and I was using it anybody who's friends of mine on Facebook knows that I use this word all the time before Trump used it. It's a Democratic shithole. So, and I've always said that. I mean, hell, I hate going. The only redeeming social value in the city of Chicago is the damn hot dogs. That's about it.
Well, again, I'm going to quote Mark Walters when he says that, show me a city or a state that has fallen into decay, and I'll show you a city or a state that is run by Democrats.
Detroit.
I can't fault that at all. I've tried, and I can't.
Oh, yeah. Detroit, for example.
So, the next thing I want to touch on is this another piece. Geez, man, I think AWR Hawkins might as well just write my show for me this week. Piece by AWR Hawkins from Breitbart. Second Amendment Foundation to SCOTUS. The right to acquire guns, a prerequisite to bearing them. Again, this is one of those things that, really should have the common sense label attached to it, but apparently doesn't. On January 9th, the Second Amendment Foundation filed a writ of cert asking the Supreme Court of the United States to review a decision from the U.S. Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, which upheld Alameda County's zoning policies against gun stores. Second Amendment Foundation is joined by the California Association of Federal Firearms Licensees, CalGuns Foundation, and 3 businesses in requesting that SCOTUS intervention in this. That comes after a back and forth in the Ninth Circuit that initially resulted in a 3-judge panel's ruling against the zoning ordinance. However, this 3-judge panel had the position that the right to purchase and to sell firearms is part and parcel of the historically recognized right to keep and bear arms. Okay, well, that makes sense. However, this was reversed when the court reheard the case en banc, so that the SAF and the other plaintiffs are asking SCOTUS to step in. For those of you that don't know what en banc is, when the Circuit Court of Appeals meets, it's usually 3 judges that decide a case, and then you can appeal the case to the en banc, which means the entire court. Then a larger panel of the court meets and will decide if that 3-judge panel made the correct decision. In this case, they overruled the 3-judge panel's decision, so the Second Amendment Foundation is appealing to the Supreme Court. Let's see. Alan Gottlieb says of the Second Amendment Foundation, says you shouldn't be able to zone the Second Amendment out of the Bill of Rights. He alluded to pro-gun SCOTUS rulings in the District of Columbia versus Heller and McDonald versus Chicago by adding, you simply cannot allow local governments to ignore the Second Amendment because they don't like how the Supreme Court has ruled on the amendment twice in the past 10 years. I got to agree with that 100%. I would think that a basic prerequisite to having the right to keep and bear arms would be the right to acquire them. And by making it illegal or impossible to purchase a firearm in the city limits, you're infringing on that right. And Night Strike, what's the last part of that amendment say?
Shall not be infringed.
Absolutely right. So I don't, I look forward to seeing if the Supreme Court grants cert to this.
I can tell you right now, the Supreme Court won't hear it.
Why do you believe it won't hear it? Other than it hasn't been hearing Second Amendment cases lately.
For the last 10 or so years, they haven't been, probably longer, they haven't been hearing Second Amendment cases. Why start now?
Well, when was McDonald? Because I think that was the last real important one they hit, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I'd have to actually look it up, and I'm not going to take the time. But I think you're right. I think it's been a while since they've really heard anything. Again, I just don't know why that would be. I don't know if they want to wait until they have a more reliable.
Okay, it was 8 years ago.
It was how long?
8 years ago.
8 years ago. Wow, I hadn't realized it'd been that long.
But refusing to hear it that's great. No, you can refuse all you want. And yes, I realize there are other topics more important that have a little more importance, in some aspects. But the fact is that you're there to uphold the Constitution and what the law is as it is written, not as you feel or as you believe. It's written in black letters.
Yep. Hey, Jamil, can you do me a favor and mute for a minute?
Yeah.
Oh, thank God.
There we go.
The silence.
I think your little man's a little bit angry. Does that mute your headphones too, Jamil?
Yes, it mutes his headphones probably.
Oh.
Oh, he's good.
I can't hear you, but you can hear me when I mute.
Yeah. If you want to speak, just unmute it or something. But your little man in the background is a little bit angry.
He is pissed. I don't know what the hell happened, but he is just pissed.
Someone is infringing on his Second Amendment.
Yes, he's being infringed. And that's what we all should do every time. A lot of people say that's what we are doing.
Well, apparently it works for the liberals. I mean, why not just adopt that method? Because apparently the person that cries the loudest gets fed first, right?
Yeah. Well, if that's the case, maybe that's how they've gotten where they have.
Maybe the fact that we aren't acting like bigoted little children. Maybe the fact that we aren't crying and screaming and having tantrums like children is the reason why we're losing ground.
Well, go ahead.
And screaming while being naked or something like that.
No, not like that. No, because that'll just get you in jail. That won't work.
Not if you're a liberal, because they do that shit all the time.
I was gonna say it depends on whether the media likes you or not, because if Antifa does it, there for a while, it's great positive coverage. If anyone else does it, they're automatically horrific Nazi pieces of crap that need to be destroyed, and it's okay to punch them in the face, and throw bricks and shit at them. It depends on whether or not the media agrees with you.
Yeah, these liberals who are saying they're anti-Nazi and whatnot. Yeah, if you're anti-Nazi, why are you going against guns? Because one of the first things the Nazis did when they came to power was take the guns away from all the people.
Yeah.
So,
if you're anti-Nazi, why are you behaving like one?
Yeah,
exactly.
That's right there.
Yeah, well, there's one radio host, I can't remember who it is, that said, if you want to know what the Democrats are up to, look at what they're accusing other people of doing.
There you go.
And I think he hit the nail on the head with that. If you want to see what the liberals are up to, look at what they're accusing everyone else of doing. Midnight Range says the shitty thing is they allow different people to interpret the Constitution differently. The living document thing can really backfire sometimes. Yes and no. There's the Constitution is a living document. Our founders were wise enough to put in a mechanism for change. It's called the amendment process. If they want to change things in the Constitution, follow the amendment process. That's how it is.
When we need that, I think it's about time.
Yeah, just the problem is with the way the country is today.
No. I don't think it'll be. That's the thing from the conservative side is everybody is all scared about it, and that all deals with state legislatures, and we hold the majority of those. The I don't know, right of center anyway holds the majority of those. So. I don't think it would end badly, honestly.
You very well may be right. Very well, maybe you're right.
I don't want another constitutional convention because I know that it potentially fix some things wrong with our government and could help people. But at the same time, that same meeting to take care of all this could backfire on us, and they could take stuff away as well. And I don't want unless you're the founding father, I don't want you touching the Constitution.
Well, it's been touched for many, many years, many, many times.
I know, we have. I'm saying right now, don't mess with it.
Okay.
Well, if it's going to be messed with, I would rather it be messed with the right way instead of every time an activist in black robes opens his mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
Exactly.
the problem is there's no safe way to ensure that they won't mess with it the wrong way once they get in to start messing with it. And that's
No safe way to. There's no safe way to ensure anything. And you trade. Franklin said it best. You trade security for freedom. So, do you want to be safe or do you want to be free? You're gonna have to make up your mind.
I mean, I can't be both.
Nope. Obviously, by your own omission, we're not going to touch it. We're not going to touch it. So we just let people whittle away on things, and we don't go in and shore up our foundation. The Constitution is our foundation. If we don't continually shore up the foundation, it's going to fall apart.
You got me there. Okay, I want to be free then, but I don't want them to fuck with my guns.
Well, that's why you have to be opportunistic in whenever you see the balance. Like I said, leaning right of center. That's when you push through for some type of an Article 5 convention to discuss things and get things done, because everybody that's participating in that, the majority of them will be right of center.
Yeah.
And hopefully that's how it would turn out. But right now, I think we're just kind of stressing ourselves out on that issue for nothing, because I don't see a constitutional convention being called anytime soon.
Right.
No, I mean that opens up so many cans of worms, from term limits to getting rid of the 17th to you name it. And,
I don't
they're
think
not.
any of
They're
them
the politicians.
Want to open that
The politicians that control that are not going to allow that.
Nope, no way. Shit, we can't even get concealed carry reciprocity to move, or the deregulation of sound suppressors to move. We're certainly not going to get a constitutional convention to move. All right, I want to go ahead and finish up by doing this week's Self Defense Shoutout. And finishing out the race here tonight is, again, another piece by AWR Hawkins from Breitbart. A armed suspect takes hostage, then dies after being shot multiple times by pizza store manager. A robbery suspect in Amarillo, Texas, was pronounced dead after taking a hostage, then being shot multiple times by pizza store manager around 10:30 Tuesday night. This is dated January 10th, 2018. According to News Channel 10, the suspect allegedly entered La Bella Pizza with a gun and grabbed an employee to use as a hostage. A witness said the employee got grabbed by the collar, pretty rough. He said it was so surreal that the employee thought someone was just messing with him. But an armed assistant manager quickly ascertained that the danger was real. That manager opened fire, striking the suspect multiple times. The suspect went down, and the employees worked to get him away from... Well, that isn't worded very well. The suspect went down, and the employees worked to get him away from appliances in the store. A witness said, "One of my co-workers pulled him away from our dough fridge where his weapon was when he was shot, and there was a whole lot of blood just smeared across the floor as he dragged him." A call was placed to 911, and medical first responders arrived to find the suspect in critical condition. He was pronounced upon arriving at the hospital. I'm assuming pronounced dead.
If it was me, I would have told the ambulance to take their time.
Yeah, no kidding. After the robbery attempt was thwarted, one witness said, "I'm just kind of shaken from it. Obviously, anyone would be. I'm still shaking at this point." The witness also stressed that other would-be robbery suspects ought to learn from what happened, saying, "It's not a good idea to rob a local store, especially in Texas. Like I said, don't mess with Texas."
Yep, that's the way to go. In Arizona too.
Mm-hmm.
Outstanding. You know, I want to make sure that everybody understands my purpose with these self-defense shoutouts is not to celebrate the death of even a scumbag criminal. It is to celebrate the continued life of the people that defended themselves or that were defended, and the fact that they had the means with which to do so, which in many places people don't.
But if the scumbag criminal died, it's an added bonus.
Well, I'm certainly not going to lament that. You know,
You're not going to lose any sleep.
No. Once you go down that road, once you decide to set your feet on that path, you own wherever it takes you.
Yeah.
Well, soon you're going to hear their mom saying, "Why did I have to shoot my son?
I
He was
think
just, trying to rob to feed us or whatever." You know, it's horseshit.
I think we've already heard that. I'm almost positive that in this particular case that we have already heard that. I think the mom has come out.
Yeah, well,
seriously, wow.
Yeah, I think
you were
so.
stupid enough to throw a criminal in the streets. So maybe you're at fault.
It's like there's a script.
Well, I mean, everybody has to be a victim now. Even you know what I'm saying? Everybody, regardless, is a victim. And I get so sick of that mentality.
Oh, you know what? You'll see that in a lot of news stories where, some so-and-so shot by police and blah, blah, blah during robbery. And then, they'll say that, well, the gunshot victim, he's not a damn gunshot victim. He was a criminal shot by the police in the commission of a crime.
Right.
Oh,
yeah.
I get so pissed every time.
It desensitizes, and it has for years. It's the desensitization of personal responsibility from the public or from society. That's what's gone on for years, and that's the play. Is that you're not really responsible for your actions.
Oh, no. Because if you're not responsible, then you can't do anything about it. And if you can't do anything about it, then somebody else needs to do something about it. And if somebody else needs to do something about it, then society has to do something about it. And if society has to do something about it, then, it's the government that has to do something about it. And it all comes back down to control by the government of the people.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, it's getting to a point. Well, what's being talked about in the last couple of days is like teenagers eating laundry detergent.
Oh, how ridiculous.
Dude, if you have to tell your kids that you shouldn't eat soap, you failed as a parent.
A little bit.
Because I think all of us are the same age group that we grew up with Looney Tunes. We know not to drop an anvil on somebody's head.
I think I'm the youngest one in here.
Okay, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I grew up with the Three Stooges, and I knew that poking somebody in the eyes was bad.
Yeah, but if someone tried, all you have to do is put your hand in front of your face. You're fine.
Yeah, you go like that,
They also taught you the defense. You got to have to do the Three Stooges that. They taught you the counter move.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, I mean, then again, when I moved to Arizona back in '92, I was, completely depressed that I didn't see any coyotes with, rocket packs in their back, So.
Oh no, those are all down in Tucson.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah.
No, it's kind of funny on all that kind of stuff, But then again, they lied to us too, because actually coyotes are twice as fast as road runners in real life. So, and road runners are badasses too. Yep. You got to Google that video of the road runner eating the rattlesnake.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it.
It's pretty awesome. So,
all right, guys, before we close out here, just a little public service announcement. I will not be returning to live stream until February 2nd. The next couple of weeks are going to be pretty rough for me, and I'm not going to feel like doing anything. I have anniversary of some pretty serious personal stuff coming up. My wife went to the hospital last year on January 20th for some neurological stuff and still hasn't really recovered from that. And then a week later, on the 27th, our daughter was killed in a car wreck. So we have some personal anniversaries in our house that are coming up, are going to be pretty serious. And I'm sorry, guys, I'm just not going to feel like doing this. And, I'm going to have to be around and available to help the wife through it. So I'll be back on February 2nd to do the live stream here. Was going to take a week that weekend and go camping with my brother and some friends, but we kind of decided not to do that. We're just going to hang out at home instead. So I'll be able to do the live stream then. So I still will probably be doing some produced content. And I might hop on for a few minutes here and there just to do a something live, but not anything like this show. But I'll be back. This isn't forever. It's just for now. So I just need a little break. Anything gonna go ahead, go through the room? Anything that you guys want to plug, want to say? Anything you want to add? Final thoughts, Clover?
I just want to plug all the other channels out there, especially the small ones, those needing to get to 100 subs. There's so many that it's hard to name, but yeah, check those channels out. Usually they're in the side chat on most of these live streams. You can just click on the little 3 dots or whatever, and go to channel, and you can easily see if they've got content, what their sub count's at, that sort of thing. So check those guys out. If they're not to 100, then try to help those guys out. 100 is a pretty good milestone for a creator, pretty important milestone for some of the features you unlock and things like that. So yeah, that's my plug.
Outstanding. Night Strike?
Yeah, and if you don't want to do that, subscribe to Night Strike 1 on YouTube and help me get to 1,000. I got to get that plug somewhere, all right?
Outstanding. Hey, this isn't Reddit. Go ahead, self-promote. We'll be all right.
I won't Reddit you.
Roll call. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, sorry I didn't talk. I had to drop off my kids, and then it was a mess. It was horrible. Anyways, real quick, I want to shout out, if anybody's in Chicago and watching this live stream, to take note about that politician that was talking about making Chicago great, and I think he was running for attorney general, and he went out to do a photo shoot with all his little cronies.
Oh, yeah.
And he went into this neighborhood, and I know where it's at, and it's not a bad neighborhood, and he was robbed at gunpoint. They took all of their wallets, they took all their phones, took all their camera gear. So next time he wants to talk about gun control, maybe he should think a little bit differently and think outside the box, because you just got robbed in not of a bad part of Chicago, little suburb city. So if you're out there, hopefully this makes you think twice about voting for somebody who is kind of not pro-gun and gets robbed in a neighborhood and has all their buddies get robbed with them. So take that to note.
I'm a jerk, man, because I laughed when I read about that. I'm sorry. I know it was wrong, but I did it.
I laughed and commented on that link from CBS News in Chicago and said, that's what you get for being anti-gun. You get robbed.
Wonderful. Jamil, anything you want to leave us with?
Well, first thing, hey, Night Strike, I just subscribed to your channel.
Yeah, I saw that. Thanks.
So I will definitely subscribe to all of y'all channels, and but thank you for having me here. Just keep looking at my channel. Hey, do you guys see my shooting against myself with a Remington 870 and the 870 DM? You got to check that out. I shot against myself and I won.
Well,
So,
it would have been pretty bad if you hadn't.
Well, yeah, but you got to check it out. It's pretty funny. So, hey, thanks for watching. Please subscribe to my channel, follow me, share, do whatever. I got 1,500 followers already. Woohoo! So
Right.
I'm almost there. So one of these days I'll be big like Hickok 45. How's that?
I'd rather be just as popular as Clover.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, isn't that sweet?
Don't wish that on people, man. Come on.
All right, everybody. Till the second, keep watching these guys, and I'm really looking forward to seeing some content from SHOT Show from the people that are going. So we'll see you then. Come back, be part of the conversation.